Hey everybody, welcome to another comic book review. In this video, I'll be talking about Hellboy: The Complete Short Stories Volume 2 by Mike Mignola and a whole bunch of other people. So this book picks up after the first short story collection from the year 1961 all the way through 1993. So it leads right up to the events that took place in Seed of Destruction, the first volume of the Hellboy series. And in this volume, you get a lot of stories that are drawn by Mignola, much more than there were in the first short story collection. And all of them are written by Mignola as well. But you get far more stories in here that are drawn by Mignola than there were in the first short story collection, which I really appreciate because I am a big fan of Mignola's art. There are some Richard Corbin stories in here as well, and if you watched my review on the first short story collection, which featured a lot of Richard Corbin's art, you would remember me saying I'm not a huge fan of his art. But in these, I think there's two stories in this collection that he draws. I didn't mind them. I think I'm still not a huge fan of his art style, but his stories in particular were very, very well written, I thought. Particularly the final one is called Makoma, and it's very, very cool. The story itself is written very well, and honestly, the art in it is not bad. I thought it lent itself really well to that type of story. And I don't know. I don't know if his style as a whole is growing on me, Corbin's art style, but I didn't mind it quite as much as I did in the previous collection. I thought it was tolerable in this specific volume. Um, it's kind of a treat that Mignola draws as much of the stories as he does in this collection, because anytime Mignola draws his own stories, it's always very visually appealing, and he gives you images that are just very cool to look at. His art style consists of a lot of um, very dark ink, and he uses a lot of negative ink as well, which I think is really cool. Um, but it's all very dark and bold. Um, I think bold would be the best way that I could describe his art style. As far as the stories in this book goes, they're like the first short story collection. There are some that are really, really cool. There are others that I didn't love, that I thought were just kind of forgettable. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's kind of a problem I have with a lot of short story collections. But the ones that are good are very, very good. Um, and even the ones that are bad they're not terrible, but they're just kind of forgettable. Like there's one, it's called Buster Oakley Gets His Wish, where Hellboy basically has to fight a bunch of aliens, and it's kind of weird, and it feels out of place in a Hellboy story, I thought. Um, but for the most part, the stories in here are pretty good. Uh, the flaws I have with this volume are kind of the same that I had with the previous short story collection, which is that they're all so short that they don't have time to pack in a lot of like emotion or relatability for any of the new characters. There are a couple exceptions to that, like the Makoma story is really cool, and I was kind of sucked into that one. But for the most part, there's no lead up to any of them. It's just like, okay, Hellboy's here, and here's a cool little thing that happened to him at this point in his career. But yet there's no backstory for it. And I can only imagine that later in the series, they'll reference back to some of these stories, or so I've been told. So I'm kind of waiting for that. But yeah. As far as the art goes, for other people besides Mike Mignola and Richard Corbin, there is a great um, story in here that's drawn by P. Craig Russell, who I'm a fan of his work already. He did a lot of work in the Sandman series, and he's worked with Neil Gaiman a lot, actually, on like graphic novel adaptations of Neil Gaiman novels. But there's a story in this collection that's drawn by P. Craig Russell, and it's very, very well done. The art here is very enticing, and it totally drew me in, as P. Craig Russell's art usually does. He gives it like a cartoony kind of feel, but at the same time, um, he makes it look just realistic enough in order to be like uh, to have a sense of believability for it. Um, it's still fun, and his art style is like it's fun and cartoony, but it works. And I think it's very cool to see a Hellboy story drawn by P. Craig Russell in his very unique art style. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the Complete Short Stories Volume 2. Um, and there's some sketches in the back too. This is always something that I really enjoy in like larger collections, is having like sketchbooks in the back and getting to see kind of like the process that the creators had while like working towards the final product that I'm now holding in my hands. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Hellboy: The Complete Short Stories Volume 2. Um, as always, thank you for watching. Look forward to more videos in the future, and have a great day.